All right, everyone, so let's get started. We're in the PPC Experts Academy Week 2. Week 2 is all about keywords and ads, and this is presented by me, Ben Pate. And for those of you that are just joining us, we covered Week 1 last week, which was on accounts and campaign settings, and you can find that in the members area, the replay. If we had a couple people that just joined us today and over the past couple days, so that's where you can find that. And let's go ahead and dive in. So I just want to welcome all the newcomers. As I just said, we've had quite a few people join us in the past couple days, and thanks a lot. We had a great first week, had a great response. Our first week went about 3 hours with all the Q&A, and it was a good time. So our class format is basically some PowerPoint and some live walkthrough. Generally, we'll cover a section in PowerPoint, and then I'll dive in with the live walkthrough, also depending upon what sort of questions I'm getting. And if you guys would, let's just keep it interactive. I love seeing all the questions in the chat box and everything else. But if you would, just please start asking questions when we get to a point that where I ask you to ask questions. So it's a little distracting sometimes when I'm in the middle of going over something and someone's asking a question about that. But you know, definitely if you got to write down your question or whatever you got to do to remember it, I definitely want to get that answered for you. But if you would, just let's leave it till the time comes to ask questions. And don't forget that you have access to all the recordings, and you will have access to the slides. We have the slides for Week 1 up in the members area. And then also, last but not least, if you guys would, just leave the off-topic questions until the very end. And so when we cover a section and then I ask for questions, if you would, just ask questions in relation to that. At the very end, if time allows, we'll have a free-for-all, which can be anything you guys want to ask me, and I'll cover it. So for those of you that just joined us, as I already mentioned, Week 1 we covered account and campaign settings. So these were all the settings to get started on the right foot, and went about 3 hours, had a great time. As I mentioned before, the replay's in the members area, and so are the slides. So this is Week 2, and we're covering keywords and ads. And next week, Week 3, is optimization. So Weeks 1 and 2 are basically about building an account and how to do that. And then Week 3 is going to be optimization, so optimizing an account once you've already gotten it started. I'll show you all the settings, all the places to look, how to uncover the diamonds in the rough, and it's going to be fun. So Week 4 is all about scaling and automating. And then also the bonuses. We've got some bonuses by Lo Silva, Q&A webinar on LinkedIn, Jameson Brandon, Facebook, and then also too, I'm going to do a special video training more than likely on Facebook advertising. So building and optimizing an account in Facebook. So those will be announced. I actually just confirmed, it looks like our webinar with Jameson Brandon on Facebook is going to be September 6th, which is a Thursday. So it'll probably be at the same time, 7 o'clock. But I'm trying to get Los in actually this week on Thursday, but he hasn't confirmed yet. So it may be this Thursday. But regardless, whether you're here or not, you know, we'll have the replays in the members area, and you know, definitely try to get your questions answered. So tonight we're going to go over, as I mentioned, keywords and ads. And a big part of keywords and ads is account structure. So we're going to talk about getting your account set up properly and how to structure that. Then we're going to talk about keywords and understanding the match types and how to use them. We're then going to go over writing magnetic ads. So these are ads that people want to click. And I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks with writing those. We're then going to cover split testing and what to split test and how to tell if you've found a winner. And last but not least, we're going to go over ad extensions. So ad extensions is something newer that Google recently added, and they're very powerful. So let's go ahead and dive in with account structure. Oh, I'm already starting off on the wrong foot. There we go. All right, so guys, account structure. This is the hierarchy. So, you know, and if some of you have already are a little more experienced with AdWords, just bear with us here. We've got people that are all over the map, and basically this is your general account structure. So your highest level is the campaign level, and at the campaign level is where you can set your daily budget. You can also set your geographic target. So if you want to target West Palm Beach, for example, you do that at the campaign level. So that's the highest level other than the account, obviously. Then we go down to the ad group level. And the ad group level is where all of your keywords and ads reside. So the ad groups are contained within the campaign, and then the ads and keywords are contained within the ad group. So you want to make sure that the keywords and ads are all very targeted within that ad group. So the general structure should mirror your website. And also too, campaigns are generally going to be categories or brands. As I mentioned before, campaign level is where you do your geo-targeting and also where you set your budget. And you also want a different campaign for each targeted device. So a targeted device would be a desktop, a mobile device, or even a tablet device. So Google has come out and said that you get an increase in click-through rate, and also you get more impressions, and it's also easier to watch your performance and tweak things when you have a different campaign for each targeted device. And then also, ad groups should be specific to products. So just as campaigns are like categories or brands, ad groups are specific to products. Let's keep going here. So this is a fun little graphic here. This is put out by Google, and it basically just illustrates that on this particular site here on the left where you see it says Google Store, under categories you have accessories, fun, kids, office, wearables. And then a little bit over to the right, you can see that the Google AdWords campaign basically mirrors these categories from the site. So then if we go look over to even further to the right, we can see the categories under the Google Store. It says fun, and then underneath fun are a bunch of different products. So it begins with Bendy Pencils Pack of 4, Chrome Beanbag Lounger, Flashing Bouncy Ball. So these are all products underneath the fun category. And you can see in the Google AdWords that once again, the campaign is fun, and then they've mirrored the products as ad groups. So this is how you want to get set up. And what this will allow you to do is that, let's say that Bendy Pencils Pack of 4, all of the keywords within that ad group are going to be very targeted for that product. And then, because the ad group level is where you also write your ad, the ad is also going to be very specific for that product. So your ad may say something like, Pack of 4 Bendy Pencils, Pack of 4, great Bendy Pencils, or red Bendy Pencils, whatever they may be. But one of the common mistakes that a lot of people make is that they only have one campaign, and that they only have one ad group, and then they just dump all their keywords into that ad group, and so their ad group isn't their ad isn't targeted for those keywords. And remember, we want to have approximately less than 50 keywords per ad group. But to start, you want to start out with maybe 5 to 10 keywords. And that allows that ad group to be very targeted. So that's what you want there. Okay, so moving on to some structured tips. Ad groups should contain targeted keywords and targeted ads related to one product. So we already talked about that. Campaign level and ad group level negative keywords to ensure no overlap. Okay, so let's just back up for a second. So basically what we just talked about was campaign level and ad group level negative keywords. So let's do a quick example. So I'm just looking through here. Flashing bouncy ball. Okay. Let's say, for example, if we've got one ad group and it says Bendy Pencils pack of 4, let's just assume that there was another product and that we had another ad group and it was Bendy Pencils pack of 12. Well, we would want to make sure that the 12-pack ad group is what triggered any keywords that contain 12 in them, or 12-pack. And likewise, we would want to make sure that the Bendy Pencils pack of 4, that it wasn't, that ad wasn't being triggered when somebody searched for the 12-pack. So what you want to do is put a negative match in the 4-pack for the 12-pack and vice versa. And then that way, they're not overlapping. Does that make sense with you guys? Hit me up in the chat box. Okay, all right, great. We got a sharp crowd here. I like it. A lot of people asking how do we do that, and we'll jump into the negative keywords in the live walkthrough. So, all right, so let's go back. Okay, so as I mentioned, campaign level and ad group level negative keywords to ensure no overlap. So the example that I gave was an ad group level negative keyword, but you can also have a campaign level negative keyword. So if you had any products that were very similar and in different campaigns, then you can basically do the negative keywords on the campaign level, and you can do them on the ad group level. So obviously on the campaign level, that's going to affect all of the ad groups underneath that. Whereas on the ad group level, that's just that specific ad group. So also too, for structure, you want to make sure that you include negative keywords for any non-relevant keywords. So let me give you an example here. Jobs, employment are great negative keywords. So if, let's say, you're working with a dentist in North Palm Beach and you're ranking for keywords North Palm Beach dentist, well, somebody might search on North Palm Beach dentist jobs or career. That's another good one. In other types of niches, you want to look at, and we're going to talk more about this later, but you want to make sure that you define what you're selling and what you're not selling. So what you're not selling is you're not selling jobs. You're not trying to drive traffic for employment purposes. And let's say if you have an appliance repair business, well, you may not also sell parts. So you don't want people calling you up for dishwasher parts if you don't sell parts. So some other examples, like let's say, for example, in the flood restoration niche, a common keyword is water damage. Well, I can tell you from experience that people do a lot of searches on iPhone water damage or computer water damage or laptop water damage. And you want to make sure that you're considering these things, and sometimes they may not always be very apparent initially, and you may just get started and then realize, oh, hey, I need to add this negative. But that's the type of stuff that you want to think of. And then the last for structure tips is that you want to start small and you want to tweak it and optimize it, and until you've got a good quality score, preferably a 7, at least a 7, and that you feel confident about that keyword and that ad. You've got a decent click-through rate, probably above 2%. Hopefully maybe closer to 5%, and you've got a good quality score, and hopefully you're maybe starting to see a couple conversions on that, and then you want to move on. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they just put in a lot of keywords and they end up losing a lot of money, because the more keywords that you have, the more ad groups you should have, which means the more ads, and it's just harder to manage. So so that's a good tip there, is that you want to start small and tweak and then optimize. So maybe you come up with 3 ad groups. You got one campaign, you come up with 3 ad groups and have a couple keywords per ad group. You put those in, and you do your best to write a very compelling ad, which we'll talk about later tonight, and you make sure that those things are working before you move on. Because if you can't get like your best keywords, if let's say you determine that North Palm Beach dentist, that hey, you're a North Palm Beach dentist, and or maybe something more specific, North Palm Beach cosmetic dentist. If you can't sit there and tweak those ads and get a higher click-through rate to beat out your competitors, then you're not going to be able to do it for something else, for just dentists, let's say. So basically, those are the structure tips. Let's take a look here. We got a couple questions. That's why talking pencils. So Norman asked, if the products are very similar, shouldn't they be in the same campaign? And the answer is no. They may be in the same, well, they could be in the same campaign, because remember, all of the products within that category, we were in the fun category, all of the products within that fun category were in that campaign, but maybe what you're referring to is the same ad group. And it just really depends upon how different those products are. But let's say, for example, if you've got one that has an attribute that's a black pencil and you have one that has a pink pencil, well, you want to make sure that your ad says black pencil, and you want to make sure that your ad says pink pencil. Now, you could get fancy and try to do that with dynamic keyword insertion, but the preferred method is to have an ad group for the product, because you want that ad group to be very targeted. It could be overkill, but one keyword per ad group. Some of you may have heard people talk about that, and actually with modified broad match, one keyword per ad group works very well. But you want to make sure that that ad group is targeted. That is how having a winning account structure, having targeted ad groups and relevant keywords, having a high click-through rate, that's what's going to get you a high quality score and drive your cost per click down. You want the most targeted ad that you can find. And at the point that it's not worth it anymore could be at the point that the search volume is so low. So if it was like a super long tail keyword that's not even getting searched like ever, then okay, maybe that's too far now. So you go up one category. But if people are searching on it, then you want to have a targeted ad group. So Mac asks if I mean 50 keywords for the whole campaign. No, that would be like a max of 50 keywords per ad group. So each ad group, because the main thing is that ad group needs to be targeted. The campaign levels is different because you have another level, which is the ad groups. But you want to make sure that if you have blue pencils, black pencils, red pencils, those should be different ad groups, and the ads should be relevant to those. So when you have too many keywords in an ad group, then you lose your targeting. So, all right, so let's keep moving. I'm definitely going to dive into the live walkthrough and show the adding of negative keywords. But let's just go ahead and continue and talk a little bit about keywords. Okay, so with your keyword research, you got to build your initial master list of keywords. That's the first step. Then you want to review your competitors' keywords. And then last but not least, you want to sort and group your list of keywords based on word patterns. So the word patterns could be something like I mentioned where blue pencils or pink pencils. You'd want to have the groupings are going to turn into your ad groups. So okay, so let's talk about creating your master keyword list. So the first thing that you want to do, whether this is for your site or a client of yours, is that you want to review the site structure. You want to review the site. You want to pull up the website and make a list of keywords that you see. You want to make a list of categories. So for example, we'll take a look at the Miami Locksmith website, and we'll see that there's a category for automotive. There's a category for residential. There's a category for commercial. So you want to go ahead and make a list of that. And I prefer using Excel, but you can also use the Google spreadsheets or even just a notepad. And you want to list every relevant keyword that you see. So automotive lockout, for example. We'll take a look at the website here in a minute, and that'll give us a better idea. But you want to list every relevant keyword. So relevant is the key word there. You also want to then compile a list of negative keywords. What are you not selling? Parts, jobs, employment. If, like with the locksmith, like for example, with a locksmith, you may only be an automotive locksmith. So if that's the case, then you want to list residential and you want to list commercial, so that if people search on commercial locksmith, that you're not coming up. So just keep in mind that these negative keywords, that when you're showing up for keywords that aren't targeted for you, not only are you going to have a low click-through rate, but you're also going to have a low cost per conversion. And it's just overall going to drive up the cost of your whole account. So then you want to compile a list of geographic locations and modifiers. So for example, I'm here in West Palm Beach, Florida, and some modifiers would be, well, so West Palm Beach, that's technically a different place, but it's close enough. West Palm, so that's another term that people use. People don't necessarily always put in West Palm Beach. They might just put in West Palm, and they also put in WPB. Just like with Florida, they may fill out Florida, or they may just put in FL. So you want to make a list of all those geographic locations, modifiers, and if you get really into it, you can even make a list of zip codes. And I'm going to show you a tool here later on that's going to show you how easily you can grab all those. So that basically is covering the master keyword list. So we went over all those different things, listing the main categories, listing every relevant keyword, then listing all the negative keywords, and then listing all the geographic locations. So I know it may seem like a simple process, but I can't tell you how many people just go into Google and just list every relevant keyword, and that's it, and they're done. And that's why people fail at pay-per-click. Okay, so now let's talk about finding competitor keywords. And keep in mind, guys, too, I'm still going to do the live walkthrough. So all the different tools and stuff that we're looking at, I'll go ahead and open those up, and we'll look at those and show that. So, so then you want to make a list of competitor keywords. And what that can help you with is that your competitors may have thought of combinations and keywords that you haven't thought of. And so, you know, that's a good opportunity for you to kind of see, like, well, what are they doing? Some different tools that you can use for finding competitor keywords as well as just general keyword research is Alexa.com, the Google Keyword Tool, SEMrush.com, SpyFu.com, and KeywordSpy.com. So all those tools allow you to see some of your competitors' keywords, and some of them have free trials. Some of them allow you to see so many keywords for free, but then if you want to see more, then you got to pay. And we'll dive into some of those a little bit later. All right, so now let's talk about the right keywords. So this is very important. So you want to review the keyword competition with the Google Keyword Tool. That's one thing. And you want to review the keyword cost per click. So, and you do that with the Google Keyword Tool. You can also do that with SEMrush and some of the other tools. And basically, you want to start off with the most relevant keywords first. So you want to try to start off as well with the Tier 2 or Tier 3 keywords. So the Tier 2 and Tier 3 keywords are generally 2 and 3 word keywords. So dentist, for example, would be Tier 1. Cosmetic dentist could be Tier 2, or you could even consider that Tier 1, but probably Tier 2. And then something like West Palm Beach cosmetic dentist could be Tier 3 or even Tier 4. So that's the most relevant. So you want to start out with the most relevant keywords first. If you have if you're working with a client or your business and you've got some sort of reputation, then you also want to begin with your branded keywords first. So branded keywords are keywords that pertain to your business, so they have your business name in them. And generally speaking, the branded keywords will have the highest click-through rate right off the bat, because you know the people are searching for you and you pop up and that's your domain name and everything is, you know, you're hitting on all cylinders. So you're going to have the highest click-through rate on that. The branded keywords should also have the highest quality score. And, you know, once again, if you're Joe's Plumbing and you can't get a high quality score on your own name, or you can't get a high click-through rate on your own name, then you're doing something wrong, and you'll need to revisit the section on writing magnetic ads, which we're going to cover tonight. So, but that's what you want to get started with. So now let's talk about keyword match types. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they have just broad keywords in their account. And the reason for that is because if you just type a keyword into the keywords for Google AdWords, if you just do nothing but just type the keyword, well, that's going to be a broad keyword, because you can see where it says formal footwear, or I'm sorry, formal shoes. That's what the person typed in. They typed in formal shoes. But you can see that that's also going to match formal footwear, evening footwear, and then men's dress wingtips. So, I mean, obviously, men's dress wingtips is radically different in terms of the actual words being used. I suppose that men's dress wingtips are, a type of formal shoes, and that's why Google's showing that. But here's the thing: is that for men's dress wingtips, wouldn't you want that keyword in its own ad group where then your ad says dress wingtips for men? Yes, that's what you'd want. You want that in its own targeted ad group. So that's broad match. So modified broad match is something that I believe it probably came out in the past year, and modified broad match actually performs more similar to how people think broad match works. So let me give you an example. So in the example that we have here, you can see the little plus sign in front of shoes. Well, what that tells Google is that that keyword will only trigger on any search query that contains the word shoes. So you can see all those examples there have evening shoes, black dress shoes. They all contain the word shoes. Now in this example, they're actually mixing a broad match keyword and a modified broad match keyword. So formal is broad, and that's the reason why formal is matching on evening and is matching on black dress. And that's certainly one way that you can do modified broad match, but you can, generally speaking, you want to have the plus sign in front of all the keywords. So the way that you'd want to do this is you'd want to actually have plus formal plus shoes. And then that way, you're telling Google that formal and shoes have to appear in the search query in order to trigger. So, and word order does not matter. And here's the other thing, is that it's also will match on singular and plural, as well as misspellings and abbreviations. So remember when I said West Palm Beach? Well, if I had a plus sign in front of that, then Google may very well match WPB because it matches on misspellings. Basically, it's the word is the same, but plural version, singular version, misspelling, abbreviation, those all get matched under modified broad match. Word order does not matter. So whether it's formal shoes or shoes formal, that as long as both of those have plus signs in front of them and those words appear within the search query, then it's going to match that. So yeah, and so obviously here we've got an example of the modified broad match where Google is showing with the plus sign in front of both of those. So that's the dark green circle. So the modified broad without the plus sign in front of formal, you can see how that behaves. And then you see how the formal plus shoes behaves, where formal in the first example is misspelled. However, it still matches it. And then formal evening shoes. As you can see, there's no, the word order is a little different. There's evening in front of the shoes, but that doesn't matter because the word formal and the word shoes were both found within that search query. And I can't tell you guys how powerful modified broad match is. I mean, this tends to be the new keyword match type of choice. It allows you the almost the reach of broad match, but with more so of the control of exact match. So modified broad match is something that you definitely want to be using. So let's keep moving on here. So phrase match, formal shoes. So with phrase match, word order matters. So with that example right there, formal shoes, if the search query was shoes formal, then it would not trigger that keyword, that match type. It only, you can have words in front of it or you can have words behind it, but it has to be exactly that, formal shoes. So as you can see the examples, black formal shoes for men. So that has to be exactly like that. And then last but not least here, exact match. And exact match, for the most part, and I'll explain here in a second, is exactly that search query. So formal shoes with the brackets around it is when somebody searches exactly formal shoes, and that's it. Now, we talked about this last week in our campaign settings, but Google recently released, in the past couple months, an update that by default, it was enabled by default, that Google basically said that exact match is going to start performing like modified broad match in the sense of misspellings, plurals, singulars, and potentially even abbreviations. I'm not 100% certain on the abbreviations, but singular, plural, misspellings, and probably abbreviations as well. So exact match no longer became exact. And in last week's session, we showed the campaign setting that allows you to turn off the variations for the exact match type, and that's the recommended setting because we want to have control. We want to see what we're doing. We don't want to have to dive into this report or that report and to figure out what's going on. We want to be able to just log in and kind of like what you see is what you get, and that's especially how it's always been with exact match, but just recently, Google made that change to where exact wasn't really exact anymore. But the good news is that you can turn that off. All right, so let's talk about some keyword tools. So I'm just going to rattle through them, and then I'm going to open up these keyword tools, and then we'll do some more live walkthrough, answer some questions, kind of get a good feel for how everybody's doing. So Google Suggest. I'm sure you guys have all searched Google and how Google is now suggesting words. So if you type in cosmetic and then space and then D, Google probably is gonna auto suggest dentist. And then if you type in dentist and then a space and then some other letter, Google's going to automatically try to figure out what it is that you're typing in. And basically what this tool does is it allows you to put in keywords, and it gives you a ton of different combinations that are pulled from that. Then we've got the local keywords tool. This is a really sweet tool that I found probably about a year or so back, and it's really awesome. What you can do is you can put in your zip code, and then you can tell it a certain mile radius, and it will give you all the cities and all the zip codes within that radius. And for getting all these variations of the geographic areas, it's awesome. And then the keyword questions tool. This is put out Word Tracker, and Word Tracker's been around for a long time in the keyword research space and keywords and things like that. And what this tool does is you can put in a keyword and it tells you the common questions that people are asking around that keyword. So let's just take a look at some of these tools real quick. Let's see if I can. Okay, so this is the Google Suggest tool that I mentioned. This was the first one. And don't worry, these links will be in the members area, and you guys will have all the links to the tools. So don't worry there, but it's suggester.promediacorp.com. So let's just type in, let's just go for passport. They have a little CAPTCHA there. Okay. So as you can see, what this tool does is just as though you're searching Google and you were to go passport space A. I'll just show you. So you can see passport application status, passport application form, passport America, passport agency, passport application Canada, passport appointment. So let's just go to Google. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually slightly different than what is in the tool, because that says passport application for minors, passport agency, passport acceptance facility. So I don't see the one for minors, but in any event, this gives you a huge list of keywords. It basically goes through all the different letters. So there's B, then goes C, D, and obviously Google is doing personalized results there because I'm near Delray Beach. But you can see it's just a huge list of keywords. And this is a great tool. I mean, within seconds, we got a list of 370 keywords. But like, let's say if we did passport for, see what we get then. So you can keep diving deeper. Passport for a baby, passport for a minor, passport for a child, passport for a cruise. So you can see this can be very powerful to help you come up with keywords kind of once you've already have a good idea of what keywords you already have an idea for. So Sherry says that the URL doesn't work in the UK. I'm not sure why it doesn't work in the UK. I don't know if you're referring to that it doesn't work for UK results, or if it just doesn't work, period. But if it doesn't work, period, then you can come in through a proxy server, a US proxy server, and use that tool. All right, let's take a look at the next tool. Let me open up the PowerPoint again. Okay, so this is the local keywords tool. All right, so here this is. So US zip code 33408. It's my zip code where I'm at right now. I'm going to type in a 10-mile radius and include cities and results, include state abbreviations in results, include cities plus state names in results. And if you throw in a name, so let's say dentist. So I've now put in my zip code. I put in a 10-mile radius and dentist. Scroll down here to the bottom. Hit submit. And what you want to do is just scroll all the way down. And as you can see, I now have a list of the neighboring cities. This isn't necessarily every permutation, because, for example, Juno Beach is an area near me that's not listed here. But very quickly and easily, we got a list: North Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm, Jupiter, Palm Beach. We also have then FL on the end, and also then all the zip codes. So that's another great tool that you guys can use. You could punch in any keyword here. So let's say accountant. Submit. Now it says accountant, North Palm Beach. Not only that, but then you could add something to the beginning or something to the end. So let's say, obviously you could just put it in here, but depending upon what you're doing, let's just say certified public. Okay, so we should have added a space after public. Certified public accountant. Okay, so that's that tool. Okay, then this is the word tracker keyword questions tool. Now, as I was checking this out today, getting prepared for tonight, I noticed that I was only able to do one search, and then it asked me for a password, so I didn't really like that. But let's just go ahead so you can see what it does. So we got keyword questions is selected, and now passport. Okay, so once again, just go ahead and sign up real quick. Confirmation email has been sent. Great. Like I said, this is why this tool used to not do this, so it doesn't really make me very happy. But it's great to get an idea of the questions being asked in your niche. So I'm just going to go ahead and confirm this link. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back. Okay, there we go. So now passport. Okay. So now these are the top questions that are asked that I believe contain the word passport. So how to get a passport, you can see, is the #1 asked question. Whereas how long does it take to get a passport is #2. How to renew a passport, how do I get a passport, how to apply for a passport, passport name change. It's kind of a question, but it doesn't contain the word how. How do you get a passport? So that's another great tool to use. All right, so just kind of going through some of the questions here. James asked earlier, what's an example of a branded keyword? So if, for example, our business name is Web1 Syndication. So if I wanted to rank for my business name or even Web1 or Web1 Syndication, then that is an example of a branded keyword. So branded is always something that has to do with your business. When somebody's looking for your business, that's a branded keyword. So Krista asked a question about if the site isn't structured by category, then my recommendation would be to figure out what categories the products or the services belong in, and then to do that with AdWords. So okay, so yep, covered that. We're going to provide a list of the tools. Okay, so let's take a look at a site now. Okay, so 24-7 Miami Locksmith. So here are the categories: automotive, commercial, residential. So more than likely, that's what we would want as our campaigns. But keep in mind that the campaign level is where you also geo-target, so, and also where we're setting our device. So yes, we're going to have an automotive campaign, but in actuality, we're probably going to have a automotive Delray Beach desktop, automotive Delray Beach mobile, automotive Delray Beach tablet. Then now, obviously, that was Delray Beach, where this one's for Miami. But so we would want to have, if we expanded into Delray, we'd want to have automotive, Miami, and then desktop. Desktop meaning the device. So category, location, device. Automotive, Miami, mobile. Lisa says she tried the word tracker tool and deleted the cookie so she didn't have to fill out the username and password. So that's great. All right, John. So this was the website that has the categories. So our just to kind of be clear here, so our campaigns would be automotive. We would then put Miami, because if, let's say we wanted to go into Hollywood, see, we're geo-targeting on the campaign level. And then we would say desktop, automotive, Miami, mobile, automotive, Miami, tablet. So those would be the campaigns. Now let's just dive into the mobile, or I'm sorry, the automotive category. Okay, so we can see we're in automotive. So jammed ignition. That could be a keyword. Other automobile locksmith services: car lock repair, unlock gas cap, car lock rekey, car trunk lock repair, glove box lock repair. So these would all be ad groups. Now let's just go ahead and jump into the Google keyword tool. And one of the features that I like to use in the Google keyword tool is this one right here where it says website. So I'm going to go ahead and I just copied and pasted the URL that we were just on. You can see here you can drill in for different areas or different languages if that's what you're looking to do, as well as different devices. So not only that, but you could also then, where we talked about the right keywords and deciding upon the cost per click, as well as even the competition. So let's just say low to medium, and then approximate cost per click is less than, let's just try $5. See what we come up with. And then let's go ahead and hit search. So now what Google's doing is it's scanning this page for different keywords. Now, right now, this is on broad match. You can see over here, match types. And it's on broad match. And so these are the different search volumes that you would get if you were had the keyword auto keys in a broad match, which I mean is really broad. So let's go ahead and select exact and phrase. And then let's go ahead and click columns. And then add in approximate CPC, or cost per click. We've got the competition there as well. And then we can even check on this extracted from web page. And now, I don't know if you can see my status bar, but you can see that it was the page that I put in. So let's see here. So if we were to just go like this, 24/7 Miami locksmith, we now have another list of keywords, 1 through 50 of 100. Rekey a lock. And remember, now these are only keywords that have low to medium competition and have an approximate cost per click of less than $5. So if you want to, you can sort it. Duplicate keys. So I'm not a locksmith, and I'm not exactly sure how much it costs to duplicate a key, but you can see right here, now that's a phrase match that it has low competition, it has a lot of searches, and its cost per click is within our range. Now granted, this is going to be nationwide, so just in Miami, we're not actually going to see that many searches. But this helps you rekey a lock, unlock your car. Now what you can also do with this tool is, let's take a look and see commercial. We can add in a list of words to include as well as exclude. So let's just say if we decide that, hey, you know what, these commercial keywords, I don't want to see those. So now it just updated. You may not have even seen it. And there aren't any other keywords now that contain commercial. Let's go ahead and remove that one. And then let's include the word emergency. Okay, so you can see now it really went down. Let's try 247. 247. Okay, so let's take that out. Let's include the word Miami. Commercial locksmiths, Miami. So as you can see, the volume is not much there. And part of the reason is it's probably because of this approximate CPC. Let's take that off and see what happens. Okay. So as you can see now we've got a lot more keywords, and they all contain the word Miami. But they're high competition, and look at that cost per click. That's average. $23, car locksmith in Miami. You can also, which is a neat feature, global monthly searches is greater than or equal to, let's just say 100. So now we only have 28 keywords. Miami Beach locksmith. So that's the Google keyword tool. Let me jump into SEMrush. I'm going to beat a dead horse there. Okay, now in SEMrush, let's actually do this. Miami locksmith. So now we're talking about the competitor keywords. So we can see this emergencyusa.locksmith.com. They're in the #1 position there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that. And I'm going to go and punch them into SEMrush. Now, we've got the paid version of SEMrush, but with the free version, they'll give you a couple keywords here that you can see that the person's ranking for in the ads. So these are ad keywords. List of ads keywords. So they also have the organic keywords as well. But here are all of the keywords that that particular website ranks for. And this is the position that they're showing up in the paid. These little parentheses here mean that this used to show up in the #2 position, but now it's in the #5 position. So locksmith Manhattan, locksmith in New York, Fort Lauderdale locksmith, Miami locksmith, Coconut Creek locksmith. So you can see most of the keywords are locksmith, Miami emergency locksmith. You can see the relative search volumes. You can see the relative cost per clicks, $20 a click. So let's see. So that's SEMrush. If we want to take a look at Alexa, I'm going to take that same website. Remember, this is looking at competitor keywords. Then click Details. So you can see here they've got some here. They don't really have much data on this particular site. So you can see I click the Search Analytics. Locksmith services, things like that. If you have the Alexa toolbar installed, which I think I do, There it is at the top. Okay, so you can now see that we've got some more data here. Locksmith NYC, Locksmith Miami, commercial locksmith. So that's Alexa. So if you have that enabled, that extension enabled, then you'll get some more data. Now you can see here this espionage. Once again, this is a paid tool, but they also give you some free data. So we're on PPC, locked key car, locksmith in West Hills, local locksmith, car keys, car key lockbox, ABC locksmith. Okay. So do you guys want to see me actually jump into AdWords and build out a couple campaigns, do a couple ad groups? That'd be helpful for everyone. Where let me know where you guys are at with everything here. Okay, so we're getting quite a few yeses. Okay. All right. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, great. Okay. So once again, guys, you'll have all these tools, the links to the tools, and you can kind of research some of them yourself. You can see here with the espionage that this also shows some of the ad copy. $25 car lockout service. SEM Rush does the same thing. Let's see, ad texts. Okay, that's a bit overwhelming. So these are all the different ads that Emergency USA Locksmith is running. You can also find other competitors to this site. So Run Local Locksmith, they have 189 common keywords, which I believe are probably, well, yeah, those are common keywords in the paid, whereas this particular site has 2,200 total keywords. But like, look at this, locksmith near you. Here are the common keywords, but let's just look at all the keywords that they have. So these are all the keywords. They have almost 4,000 paid keywords. Now, let's see. Now, right off the bat, what I notice here is that they're driving all the traffic to the home page. So, I mean, that's a big mistake. Brooklyn Locksmith, they should be driving that to a page that's targeted for Brooklyn Locksmith. So anyway, so that's that tool. SEM Rush is great. They give you some free stats, but you just get a bunch more when you pay. So let's go ahead and dive in and create an account real quick. So as you can see here, I'm in my MCC account, and I just easily click Create Account, and boom, the account's done. So here's my account. We're going to go ahead and create the first campaign, automotive. We're going to set search network only like we learned last week, as well as then all features. You want to go ahead and do that. Make those changes before you name it. We said we were going to name it Automotive Miami and then Desktop. So we'll go ahead and choose the devices, Desktop. I'm going to then do an advanced search, and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and grab the address. What was that? 33132. Okay, great. So it found my address. I'm going to give it a 10-mile radius. Click Add. So we can see now that we're 10 miles around our address. Let's also go ahead and jump into our keyword tool. Just open it up. I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. I'm going to manually set my bids. For location options, I'm going to go ahead and select people in my targeted location and exclude people that are in the locations that I exclude. So this is telling it that I only want to serve people that Google thinks are 10 miles within this radius, and that's it. I'm going to put a default bid of $10 and a $300 per day budget. Delivery method's going to remain at standard. We're going to go ahead and leave the ad extensions unchecked for now. This is a 24-hour service, so I'm going to go ahead and leave show ads all days and hours. I'm then going to set rotate evenly so I can split test my ads. And then under keyword matching options, I'm going to say do not include close variants. So misspellings, plurals, so on and so forth. So I just like to do a little once over. We've got desktop selected. We've got Miami. Let's go ahead and save and continue. Okay, now ad group name. So we'll jump back over to the site. We're working with the automotive. And we said that we were going to use these areas down here as the ad groups. But let's just go ahead and car lock repair. Replacement car keys. Let's just go ahead and jump back over to the Google keyword tool. Put in that page. Okay, so we can see auto locksmith is a big one. Car locksmith. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this one auto locksmith. And then for right now, I'm just going to jump down to the keywords. Now what I want to do is just check, because that's broad, we want to check the exact. Okay, so we can see that auto locksmith is still very big. So now what I'm going to do is just go ahead and type in include terms auto. And so then we've got, so now I only want the keywords that are very relevant to my auto locksmith ad group. So auto locksmith, auto locksmiths. Okay, tools. So I'm going to make a little note. Negatives. Tools. Because we're not selling tools. So I'll go ahead and move that out of the way. Miami auto locksmith. Locksmith auto reversed. Auto lock space smith. Mobile auto locksmith. I'll probably go ahead and that would be a separate ad group. Auto locksmith finder. Auto locksmith Miami. Auto locksmith service. Lockout, that's a different word. Training, there's another good one. So we're not training people either. So we add that to our negative keyword list. Services. Prices. Tool. Go ahead and do local as well. Okay. So I think that's a good list. So we can download those keywords. So here's all of our search volume, our competition. We can see the approximate cost per click. You just go ahead and do an average. So $13. So notice how all these keywords are all very similar. Auto locksmith, auto locksmiths, locksmith auto, auto lock space smith, finder, that's somebody looking for the service. Okay, so we've got that. So now let's just jump into Google and auto locksmith. I'm going to change my area right here to Miami so that I can see the people that I'm going to be competing against. So strangely enough, even though I changed my location to Miami, they showed this Palm Beach locksmith, which is where I'm at. Okay, so we can see here they've got like locked out 24/7. So here's what I'd like to do is I like to make a list of what I see here. So I see, so Go ahead and name this competitor USPs, unique selling propositions. Not really so much unique, but so we've got 24-hour or 24-7. I see here, look, 15-minute response time anywhere in Miami. So that's pretty compelling. If you're locked out and you need somebody right away, so go 15-minute response time. Call us today. We've got free estimate. Rated A+. A+ in the BBB. Full locksmith service. $25. 15-minute response. Residential, auto, commercial. 24/7 local emergency locksmith. Fast 15-minute response, 24-hour. Okay, so there's my little list. Let's take one more last peek. So even though it's auto locksmith, I mean, it has auto there in description line 1. Now that one says car. But notice how a lot of these do not contain the word auto. If we just highlight it, there's auto. Now this person is using automotive in their site links. But as you can see, not very many people are using automotive or auto. So they're at a disadvantage to us. So let's just go auto locksmith service 24/7. Minute response time. All right, now check this out. We haven't gotten into writing ads yet, but as soon as we get, that's actually the next section. So, all right, so auto locksmith. You can see here that we're making use of the extended headline by adding a period on the end, and you can see what it does is it pops up to the top. Or if I take off the period, see how it goes away? So in my ads in the top 3 positions, if I have a period there or an exclamation point or a question mark, it shows up. It moves it up to the top. So that's what I mean by extended headline. 24/7, 15-minute response time. So let's see here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the display URL first. 24-7. We want to go try to camel case the words there. 247 Miami locksmith. Now we're also doing this for auto, so that's the destination URL. Okay, so now description line 2. All right, so you can see here Google suggests students save 20%. So you know, a couple different routes here, but let's do something pretty crazy. 24/7, 15-minute response time. Let's see what I can fit here. Okay, so that's pretty aggressive. Locked out, there in 15 or free. Now obviously that's not the best sounding because we only have so many characters to work with, but I think they'd probably get the point. If we want to go ahead and take off locked out, let's see. We could try locked out, arrive in 15 minutes or free. Boom. All right, so I mean that's pretty compelling. You can see that nobody had any sort of ads that said anything about a guarantee response time. They just said 15-minute response. We've got auto locksmith service, which is very targeted to our keywords because they're all auto locksmith. And you can see too that Google even suggested some different keywords. And these can sometimes be very good for helping you with your ad groups. Auto locksmith. Okay, so auto locksmith service. You know, auto locksmith service could say all right, that's even better. Emergency auto locksmith, 24-7, so 24/7, 15-minute response time. Then we've got like a little question locked out to kind of try to grab their attention. Arrive in 15 minutes. Oh, it says of free. Sorry about that. Arrive in 15 minute or free. So that's pretty compelling. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that one. You can see here all of our ads. So before we go dive into the next section, I'm just going to do another ad group real quick. So we've got auto locksmith. All right, so let's do this now. Let's say car. Okay, so now we've got car locksmith. Car keys made is different. We want to have an ad that says something that speaks to that. I'll tell you what, since we did one very similar to that, let's do one for the replacement. So let's do a car key replacement. So we can add in here replace. Now because it's an or relationship here, key replacement for car. Car replacement keys. Okay, so I'll tell you what we're gonna do on this one. So we talked about modified broad match. Well, let's go ahead and do a modified broad match. So our next ad group, and you can see that Google automatically includes our last ad that we just created. So this one's going to be car key replacement. (24/7), 15-minute response time. I mean, all those things are still good. Also, too, guys, on the last one, what I didn't do, which I should have done, was the display URL. So I just have 247 Miami Locksmith. Well, we should add something on that's like the category. So on the last one that I just did, I should have had something like auto or automotive or even auto locksmith. Well, that doesn't fit. But anyways, that's what I should have had on the last one. On this one, we could say maybe replacement, or we could even just put car key. Now we want to check and see if our website has a specific page for car key replacement. Okay, and I know that this site doesn't, but ultimately you'd want to have something like this, to where then it's a specific page on car key replacement. So we looked at some keywords. Well, now what we want to do is say car key and replacement. And so what this is going to do is any search queries that contain all three words will trigger our ad. Now we talked about tools. So let's add a negative. Training. Default bid. So let's see what we think. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put $10. So I accidentally clicked Setup Billing now. So now we've got Auto Locksmith. Let's just go ahead and fix that ad real quick. Now, one thing is that you generally don't ever want to you generally don't ever want to edit your ads, because what that will do is that will reset your history. But because we just started this, it's okay to edit it. But you always want to clone your ad, and the way that you can easily clone your ad is, let's say if you had 3 ads here, all you need to do is sort on one of these fields so that the ad that you want to clone shows up at the top. And then all you do is select new ad and put text ad, and it will, whichever ad is on the top. So I'll show you an example. So just go ahead and put that. So I'm just going to put auto. That's like our category, remember. And then if I were to say, okay, so let's just do auto locksmith. Let's do auto locksmith emergency and save ad. So notice this ad is the one on the top right now. Well, if I sort it, notice how emergency is at the top, and now emergency is what's being cloned. Sort it by, now auto is at the top, and now auto is the one that's being cloned. So that's a pretty neat trick, huh? Okay, so I've shown you creating ad groups. Let's dive back into our presentation, because we're getting quite a few questions in regards to some things that we're going to cover here, and let's try to keep moving along. If we'll dive back in and show with some split testing on ads, but let's dive back into our presentation real quick here. Okay, so ads. So writing magnetic ads. So as you guys saw, as soon as I started looking to write ads, I went and looked at what the competition was doing. What are their selling points? Free shipping, in the biz for 30 years, top rated. Remember, we saw A+, top rated, BBB, 15-minute response time, those types of things. So those are their selling points. And then you want to ask yourself, and you know, we didn't do a very good job in the ads that we wrote here, but how is your client or how is your business different than the competition? So, and the way that you figure that out is like what you know, maybe they say 15-minute response time, but there's no guarantee. And so, yeah, they say 15 minutes, but then they show up in 20 minutes. Well, if you're locked out of your car and they say we show up in 15 minutes and then they don't, they show up in 20 minutes, you know, you're still going to accept their service. You're still going to be glad that they're there. But so maybe there's no guarantee. Maybe that's how we set ourselves apart, because that's what we did in our ad. We said arrive in 15 minutes or it's free. So we told them 15-minute response time, which matched other competitors. But then we went above and beyond and said, we'll be there in 15 minutes or it's free. So when you're writing your ads, you always want to consider, it's like, what's your mafia offer? And a mafia offer is an offer that they can't refuse. So we're there in 15 minutes or it's free. I mean, it almost doesn't get much better than that. If we put the lowest price, the cheapest price, you know, we take out the risk. I mean, basically with the mafia offer, if your initial reaction isn't, that's crazy, we're going to lose money, then it's not strong enough. So that's kind of how you want your mafia offer to be, to almost feel like that, you know, that's not going to work. That's too aggressive, because what you may find that if people choose your business 10 times more often than your competitor, then hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe you do lose out on some deals. Maybe you have to do a lock for somebody for free. But it's like, what's your cost? What's your cost involved in that? Some gas and some labor. So you may find that if you get 10 times more business than your competitors, you may put your competitors out of business, and that the pros are going to outweigh the cons. So in writing magnetic ads, you want to give them a guarantee, 30-minute delivery or it's free. You guys remember Domino's back in the day where, you know, they had to arrive in 30 minutes or it's free. Now, I actually like Domino's a lot better than it used to be, but I never actually, you know, took them up on that offer or had that opportunity back then. But I know that that's what they were telling everybody, and more than likely it was because that what was going on in the industry was that the delivery man was taking 45 minutes or an hour, and so they identified that and said, okay, we're going to do 30 minutes. I mean, it just so happened back then, I think the quality wasn't so great. But hey, they showed up in 30 minutes or it was free. So, you know, obviously too, pizza, that's something that college students get, and you know, potentially people on a budget. So that whole, hey, it could be free, could be a great pull. You also may see this at other stores like Dunkin' Donuts, where they might say, if they don't give you your receipt, it's free. I mean, that's kind of once you're already there. That's not so much like a marketing pull strategy. So in writing magnetic ads, you also want to imply scarcity. So an example of that is only 9 spots left. One of the most successful ads that I've ever written, I split tested many different combinations of numbers, And basically this was for a company that did human growth hormone, which is the age range was males aged 35 to 54. And we basically said the next 9 respondents get a free consult. But the thing is that, I mean, literally like everybody got a free consult. But we tried different numbers, and the only 9 spots left worked the best. So we tried 10 spots, 3 spots, 2 spots. And maybe it was because people didn't believe us, that it was like that line of, well, it's not believable. Oh, only 2 spots left. Yeah, right. And maybe 20 spots seemed like, oh, I don't need, you know, like whatever. But anyways, 9 spots left. But you definitely want to test that. But that's implying scarcity, that there's a limited quantity of these things available, and they need to act now. So also, too, with creating urgency, save $20 today only. So if they don't act now, then they're not going to save $20. Another successful campaign that we did is in the appliance repair industry. And we said, call today and save 20%. So it wasn't anything too crazy, but you would be surprised how many people would call us, and if the operator on the phone didn't mention something about the discount, that they would bring it up and say, oh, well, you know, I get the discount, right? I get the discount. So we knew that people were seeing that, and that's part of what was causing them to call right now. You know, don't put down the phone, or don't, you know, just, it's, you know, what you have to force them to act now. And don't be afraid to push the envelope with creativity. So, I mean, one of the great things is that you can split test ads so quickly and easily. When we jump back into AdWords, I'm going to show you how fast I can write a bunch of different combinations. And, you know, don't be afraid to push the envelope with the creativity. So let's see. So I'm just trying to think of an example for you. I mean, obviously you have the creativity in the offers, but then you've got creativity just in the ad. So, okay, here's an example. Now, I actually didn't run this past the client, because the client is a car dealership, and sometimes the client is you know, they don't like the creativity, because then they're questioning whether it's pushing the boundaries of being professional. But my brother, who works with us here, and he's also been doing pay-per-click for a couple of years, and he helps with some of our ad creation. And his ad said, "Pissed and broke?" ? And then it was like, "Save money now" or something. But it was like "pissed and broke," to where, you know, it's somewhat creative. But, you know, you want to push the boundaries and be creative, because that's what people notice. That's what gets your ad click, and that is what's going to help you achieve a high quality score and a low cost per click. So you also want to remove the risk. So remember, our ad that we just did tonight, we removed the risk. We're there in 15 minutes, or it's free. So they're like, well, what do I got to lose? And then we also offered them something of value, you know, somewhat in the reversal of the risk, where we said we'll be there in 15 minutes, or it's free. Now, we could have also done something like, you know, for automotive, free wiper blades with locksmith. We could have said, you know, had a big discount. 20% off. You know, one of the things that you have to be careful of is that if you have too many messages flowing, if it's 20% off, we're there in 15, it's free, all these different things, that you somewhat confuse the person. So you have to, you know, be careful how you craft that. But here was another one, a free gift with order. So, excuse me. Another successful campaign that we ran was for a toner cartridge company. And basically with every order, you got a USB jump drive. And that was something that nobody else was doing. So it got us noticed. And don't forget the call to action. Call us today. Schedule your appointment now. Call now. A lot of times what I like to use in descriptions for websites is click or call now. Now, you can't use the word click in your AdWords ads, but if you watch a lot of commercials for ads, for direct response, you'll see that like click or call now, but they're always there's that call to action. And think about it too, when you're watching these infomercials, what do? They say next first 500 people get, upsize their order for free, get double the order. Or then they even show like a little countdown timer. Call within the next 2 minutes. So that's creating scarcity. That's creating urgency. So you want to do that in your ads. So let's see. Let me just field some questions here real quick. Is everybody liking this so far? You guys seeing value in this? Is it making it a little bit clearer? Okay, David says great stuff. All right. So Yuri asked before about the Google keyword tool. It only returns 100 keywords. It used to return 300, but yeah, that's just how it is. It kind of stinks, but awesome. Good job. This is awesome. Great amount of material. Yeah. All right, great. Rex says it's better than last week. All right. I'm glad you guys are liking it. Okay. So Cliff asked about camel case. So camel case is when the first letter of every word is capitalized. So just like in my headline here, writing magnetic ads, the W, the M, and the A are all capitalized. So that's camel case. And then Sherry asked about, so you're saying for an extended headline, you recommend including a period, exclamation point, or some punctuation at the end of the headline. Yes, you've got to have the punctuation to force the extended headline. And you definitely want to split test that. We're about to jump into split testing, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, Krista said that she loves info about ads, but we're talking about keywords, so hopefully then you just like the last section since we jumped into ads. David asked, what other words besides click can you not put in ads? So trademark terms, special characters. I doubt it, but you probably can't put the word sex. Let me just do a little quick search here. So any trademark terms. I know there's a Google page that has it. I know like Ambien you can't have in your ad. But basically it's the trademarks. Okay, so Daphne looks like she just found the link. Let's take a look here. Let's go ahead and pull that up for you guys. Okay, so here it is. Punctuation and symbols. So here's the special characters they don't allow. Yeah, so you can see here are some examples. Our big sale. So you've got that. I know if you try to include an exclamation point on the end of description line 1 and then also on the end of description line 2, that they don't like that. And there's also a list of trademark terms. All right, well, I'll see if I can find that. But you'll know when you run up against it because they won't approve your ad. Somebody asked for the URL in the chat box. So I'll go ahead and do that. So somebody, Rex asked, when you're adding in the plus sign, do you need to put a space after the keyword? So only if there's going to be another keyword. So yeah, it would be plus keyword, and that's it. But if you had it like keyword phrase and you did plus keyword space plus phrase. So I'll add that in the chat box as well. Keyword plus phrase. So only when there's two keywords. But if it was just keyword, then there's no space, and there's no space in between the plus and the keyword. Okay, Mike, I am going to show you one example of a split test that I did. Neil says a method of implied scarcity to tell them if the lines are busy to keep calling. Yeah, and actually, Neil, that's that same client that we ran the only next nine respondents get a free consult. He heard the same thing, that he read somewhere that was something that made the phone ring off the hook. If the phone's busy, keep trying or something. And actually, we tried that in our ads, and it didn't really have an effect for us. But I'm sure that it's, everything has to be tested. What works for one niche may not work for another, or vice versa. David asked, would the business be held to that free guarantee? Yeah, I mean, definitely. Krista asked if I use Market Samurai for research or to fine-tune results. I have a copy of Market Samurai and have used it in the past, but my tools of choice are SEMrush and the Google Keyword Tool. So I can very quickly and easily jump in, get all my competitors' keywords, and do all the damage I need to very quickly with those tools. But I do have a copy of Market Samurai. I haven't used it in several months, but I've used it in the past. Yuri asked, what's the use of negatives when you only use exact match? And that's a great point, is that when you use exact match, you don't need negatives. But when you're using modified broad match, like in our second example, then you need the negative matches. SEMrush has a free version, but there's also a paid version. Sherry asks, when do I use the plus keyword? That's when we're using the modified broad match. So we covered the different match types right here. So when, and I also use it in my example in the ad group for car replacement key. So I want to show up for anything that includes those keywords. And I don't care about word order. I want to have maximum coverage. Glenn, Speed PPC is a fine tool. I'm going to show you guys in the last week in scaling and automating how to do a lot of the same things in Excel. So I use Excel. Gil, I prefer SEMrush over SpyFu. Yuri, you said he asked about using keyword spy tools to actually find prospects who are doing things wrong. I think we saw in our example with the SEMrush that one locksmith company was driving all their traffic to the home page. So, I mean, that's a great tool. Also, too, SpyFu. So, locksmith near you. Remember, right here, we can see they're driving everything at the home page. This is a huge mistake. Look at that. Everything's going to the home page. Car door locksmith, home page. So we can also then punch it in SpyFu without any sort of a paid subscription. And right here you can see where it goes from dark green to light green that the ad copy changed from the previous month. So 24-hour locksmith, you can see that they're not split testing their ads. These ads are the same. Now they did change their ads like right here and locksmith. So it should show us the ad when I click that. I don't know why it's not working. Normally when you click this, it shows you the ad. But you can see by the colors that they're not split testing, so that's another one. Run local locksmiths. We saw that one in SEMrush as well. Okay. Yes, I recommend SEMrush. That's what I like to use. That's what we've been using for quite some time. Yeah, I prefer SEMrush. I have used the SpyFu recon tools for SEO and PPC. The PPC one just came out. But I mean, here's the thing: is that I haven't used the paid version of SpyFu in several months, so I'm using SEMrush. So whether or not they came out with some great features that I'm not aware of, I mean, it's possible. But I like SEMrush. So if you're curious, I can get you I'll post a link. Just give me a second here. I'll post a link for a free 2-week trial to SEMrush. Okay, so Yuri says SpyFu is only for US. So I know that SEMrush has multiple databases. So just give me a second, guys. Just double check that this code works still. Okay, so saying our promo code's expired. So I'll have to contact SEMrush and see about getting a new promo code. So sorry about that, guys. I do the $69 a month for SEMrush. So, Krista, I'm not really sure if you still have this question. I mean, I guess you do because it's at 8:58, but you said, what keywords would you normally add to a campaign? It's a little confusing that you've only used exact in the example tonight, but recommended modified broad. So I actually did one ad group with modified broad and one ad group with exact. All right, so let's keep going here. Okay, so let's talk about split testing. All right, so let's do an overview here. Still got another 20 slides to cover, guys. So split testing overview. Split testing, we're referring to split testing ads. That's first and foremost. And the different things that you can split test in an ad are the headline, description line 1, description line 2, sorry, that says link to, description line 2, display URL, destination URL, and the winning combination will have the highest click-through rate but also be within your cost per conversion threshold. So what I mean by that is that your cost per conversion threshold would be, let's say $25. Let's say if you make $25 is your break-even point. You sell a service for $50 and you make $25. So you have a 50% margin, and well, actually that'd be 100% markup. So your cost per goods sold is $25. You're selling it for $50, so you make $25 per sale. So let's say your threshold is $25. That would be the break-even point. But depending upon the business owner, they may say, well, let's say $20. So if you have a winning combination that the click-through rate is 6% versus 3%, but there's only a couple dollars difference in the cost per conversion, well, then you're going to get a lot more conversions with the 6% click-through rate, and the cost per conversion is within the threshold. So let's say you said, I'm willing to spend $20 and you're at 18. So you're within that threshold. And keep in mind, you can always tweak your ads further. So let's talk about what you can test. And let's talk about headline testing. So headline testing generally has the biggest impact on click-through rate. That's what CTR stands for, click-through rate. And the headline was, in our example tonight, we did auto locksmith. Now, granted, when the extended headline comes into play, that just that can also have a great impact, but it's still considered a headline. So here's different things to test. Word order: New Jersey dentist or dentist New Jersey. That'd be something to test in the headline. Now, it may not have a dramatic effect on your cost per conversion, but it may have an effect on your click-through rate, and that's what you want to see. We also talked about camel case. First letter of every word capitalized. So that generally gets your ad noticed. Sometimes what I do too are words like for or the. I might not capitalize those. I may just capitalize the important keywords. So sometimes I'll leave multiple keywords lowercase and then have the first letter capitalized in an important word to draw attention to that. And you also want to test a call to action in the headline. So something like get a passport, find a locksmith. Those are things to test in the headline. So let's talk about description testing. And then this is description line 1 and description line 2. You want to try description line 1 with and without the punctuation to get the extended headline. So depending upon the niche, depending upon what your competitors are doing, if you're showing up in the top 3 positions, I've seen the extended headline have a dramatic effect on click-through rate. But in other niches, I've also seen it perform worse. So it's something that you have to test for yourself. So features, benefits. Sometimes you want to try having a feature in description line 1 and a benefit in description line 2. Or maybe you flip those around. A benefit in description line 1 and a feature in description line 2. Camel case, once again. Promotions and discounts. You want to test a percentage off as well as a dollar amount off. Sometimes a dollar amount off can have a better effect because people don't want to do the math. Oh, 20% off. Well, I don't really know how much it's going to cost, but $20 off. Oh, okay. I saved 20 bucks. Call to action, once again. Schedule your test drive today. We're calling them to action. Display URL. You want more than just www.domain.com. You want to display a category after the slash. Domain.com/HP-toner. You also, in our example tonight, I forgot to add that, and then I went back and I added auto. It's 24/7 Miami Locksmith-auto. That helps them to understand that we're driving them to the automotive page, that it's relevant to them, it's targeted to them. That's what they want to see. Camel case, once again, www.D and then domain.com. You want to try it with and without www. So domain.com/HP-toner and www.domain.com/HP-toner. So these may seem like little changes, but trust me, they can have a big effect. Destination URL. generally the home page is not the best answer. So we saw that one example of that locksmith company that's doing it wrong. They're driving everything to the home page. And actually Google downgrades them, lowers their quality score because of that. Google wants to see you driving people to targeted pages. So you want to try the most relevant page according to the keyword and ad combo. So if the ad mentions a promotion, then show it on the page. Also try different layouts. Try the form on the right, the form on the left, form in the subheader. Those are all examples of different layouts. Now I promised somebody that we would also talk about these things. You want to make sure that you include a privacy policy on your destination URL. And you also want to have terms and conditions, about us, and contact us. So the most important one there is the privacy policy. And if you have a form on a page and don't have a privacy policy, then I know in MSN Ad Center, they'll disapprove your ads. And Google may drop your quality score. So you also don't want to have any pop-ups, and you don't want to have any sort of language on the page whatsoever about making millions from home. Any sort of get rich quick, make millions from home will get you disapproved and potentially even banned in Google. Squeeze pages are fine, but you want to try to you want to include those links at the bottom. Privacy policy, terms and conditions, about us, contact us. So squeeze pages are fine. So let's talk about finding a winner. The ad with the highest click-through rate and within the cost per conversion threshold, that's the winner. Now I was looking for a formula, and I'm going to maybe even just develop a custom Excel page for you guys, and I'll drop that in the members area. But there's a lot of different tools online that claim to tell you when you found a winner, and many of them are missing a critical piece, which is the click-through rate. Most of the tools online, they just ask for things like how many conversions, how many impressions, or what's the conversion rate, things like that. And they're missing a key metric there, which is the click-through rate. Because if one ad is getting the same amount of impressions as another ad, but one is getting 2 clicks for every one that the other one gets, that as long as it's not completely off above the cost per conversion threshold, then the one with the higher click-through rate is going to win, because you're going to get more traffic. And you can always tweak that ad. You can always do some of the different things that we just talked about, where try a different display URL. So the high click-through rate is what helps increase your quality score and lower your cost per click. So, I mean, obviously you want to make sure that you're coming up for things that are relevant, things that are targeted. You want to have a targeted keyword and ad combination, as well as landing page. Keyword, ad, landing page. That's the secret sauce. Our keywords were automotive locksmith, auto locksmith. Our ad said auto locksmith, and then we drove people to an auto locksmith page. Now, because we just made it up in our ad, our landing page didn't include any verbiage about 15-minute response time, or it's free, or those types of things. But you would certainly want to include that on that page to remind them of that. You could even have a little countdown timer on the landing page. And you could say, to have a little countdown that we can be there in a certain amount of time. So then you also need to have a decent amount of conversions to confirm statistical significance. And what statistical significance is meaning that there's enough data to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is in fact a winner. Because if, let's say you get 2 conversions on one ad and 1 conversion on another. Well, that's not enough data to determine it. You need to see something like 10 conversions on one ad and 2 conversions on another, or 100 conversions on one ad and 50 conversions on another. That is, that's what we call statistical significance. That it's not just a coincidence, because naturally every ad, somebody may have, no matter what the ad was, they were going to click it and it was going to convert. So you got to have statistical significance, and the amount of conversions depends on the difference. So if one ad had 10 conversions and the other ad had 1 conversion, then I think that's pretty good, and that's enough. That's all I need to know. But if so, that in that sense it was a very large difference. But if it was like 10 conversions versus 9 conversions, or 10 conversions versus 8 conversions, well, then you want to maybe then go up to 20 or 50 or 100 to find statistical significance. So let's see what small changes can have a big effect. So we've got 2 ads here, and and this is a great example because there's not really a ton of clicks for either one. I mean, 144 clicks isn't the best example, but you can see, I mean, look how much we're spending. We're spending $13 a click. We spent nearly $2,000 for each of those ads. I mean, that's a lot of money. The only difference between these 2 ads is that we did camel casing on the display URL. Now, you can't see the domain because it's blocked out, but the domain also has a camel case. So the first letter of the domain name has a capital letter. It's also, we also have www, so it's like www dot capital letter, and then it's the word, and then another capital letter in the word. And then you can see the display URL, capital D, capital A, whereas this one's lowercase, the one on the bottom. Lowercase d, lowercase a. And look, I mean, look at the impact we had here. 6.74% click-through rate versus 3.12. I mean, that's more than double. You can see the average cost per click is basically the same, but as you can see that, and this was very new in the test, that the cost per click was actually less on the ad with the higher click-through rate. And that's because Google's rewarding us there. Now, you can also see that the ad on the top got about half of the impressions that the ad on the bottom did. So we got more traffic with half the impressions. But then look at the amount of conversions. 9 conversions versus 3. $209 cost per conversion versus $628. And the only difference is camel casing the display URL. I mean, you can see that small changes have a big effect. So what do you guys think of that? Carol says gobsmacked. Fantastic. Ed says ABC, always be testing. Rockstar results. Hard to believe. It is hard to believe. If I didn't know it for myself, I would think that there's a different landing page going on there, but there isn't. The only difference is the display URL, and it's camel cased. But it's a great example because these are the types of small changes that you just need to make. That's it. You don't have to come up with some, oh, I need to come up with 10 creative titles. That's great, but something else too that I want to mention on split testing that wasn't in the slides, and I apologize, is that you want to try split testing one element at a time. And in this example, I was only testing the display URL. And that's how I can definitively say it's the display URL that got the job done. Because what if I had a different headline for ad A? Well, then you'd say, oh, well, instead of an ampersand, you had an and, drug and alcohol treatment, instead of drug ampersand alcohol treatment. Oh, that must be what was making the difference. No, no, no. The only thing I changed was display URL. So that's what did it. So you only want to test one element at a time. Now, you may have the same headline and have, you can flip the order of description line 1 and description line 2. That's one thing you can do. Or you could just have two different description line 1 and description line 2. But you want to try just changing one element at a time so that when you get a result like this, that you know what did it. If I had a completely different description or a different headline and different display URL, well, which of the three was it? Well, when you test one element at a time, now you know. Sherry asks, can you use ampersand in the ad copy? Yes. You can see I did it here. And it's a great way to, because you only have so many characters to work with, that an ampersand is great instead of the word and. So Reg asks, do I camel case every URL now? We can believe that I split test it, but that's a good question, because then you think, oh, well, this is going to work this way in every instance, and it just doesn't, because you never know. If all your competitors are doing lowercase and you do camel case, well, that's what maybe gets it done in that instance. But maybe if they're all doing camel case and maybe you do lowercase, well, now they see your ad. But that's just why everything has to be tested. Sometimes www works better. Sometimes it doesn't. And it just all depends upon who's showing up on that page and how everything is getting formatted by Google. Michael asks, how does calendar date affect results? So, I mean, that's only going to affect results if you have something that's relevant to something in the calendar. So if you're talking about a season or a holiday, if you're a car dealer and you're showing ads specific to Labor Day specials, then that's going to have an effect on the calendar, or summer specials. But it could. There could also be some psychographic, hey, it's hot or whatever, and it's summertime, that could have an effect. But for the most part, these, are mutually exclusive from the calendar date. Grant mentions leap year days. People forget to promote leap year days. So that's another thing that you want to stand out from the crowd, rise above the noise. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Stand out, get noticed. So another great way to get noticed is through ad extensions. And ad extensions is a newer feature in Google that really helps you get noticed, helps you stand out from your competition, because not everyone's using it. Not everyone's using all the ad extensions. So anything that you can do to differentiate yourself from your competitors and to stand out and get noticed and get clicked, you want to get the click. That's what you want to focus on. As long as you're within your cost per conversion threshold, get the click. Okay, so AdWords, it's a newer feature, or ad extensions. It's a newer feature in AdWords that not everyone's tapping. It's one of the biggest ways to help increase your click-through rate, or CTR. It's easy to set up and you know where to look under Ad Extensions tab. There's several different kinds, but we'll only focus on three: site links, call extensions, and location extensions. So you may be asking, what's a site link? Well, these are site links. I'm sure you've seen them before. They're little links that are included underneath your ad, and when somebody clicks the link, you get charged just like you do with the normal ad. But once again, this is another thing that draws people's attention. We saw the locksmith example where they should have had it targeted towards auto since that was our keyword, but they put automotive, residential, commercial as their site links. So that's what a site link is. So you can add up to 10, but Google will decide which ones to show and how many to display. So this example right here, they're showing 6. They actually have 3 lines. And part of the reason is because I searched for Best Buy. So I knew that if I searched their branded name that we would see a lot of site links. But, that gets noticed. So according to Google, 2-line site links can increase your click-through rate by more than 30%. And we know that click-through rate is what Google wants. That's how Google gets paid. Every time somebody clicks, Google gets paid. Google wants high click-through rate. And site links and 2-line site links. So what we just saw was 3-line. 2-line, which would be like probably 4, increase your click-through rate by more than 30%. So anything that increases your click-through rate, you want. And you must have a decent quality score and must be within the top 3 positions for the site links to show. So they won't always show. So here are some best practices, and actually the first one's a requirement. You must send traffic to a different landing page for each site link. So I was working with this client, and they only had a 1-page website, but I wanted to have some different site links to catch people's eye. So I just created, different words, like different keywords, and like related keywords, so to speak, or synonyms, and I just drove them all to the same page. Well, then eventually Google made a change and came around and said, hey, if you don't change this, we're going to disapprove your ads because we are in the process of making a change, and this is not going to be allowed anymore. So update your ads or they're going to get disapproved. So that's a requirement. They have to go to a different landing page. And you should include some sort of tagging so that you can see in your stats in Google Analytics like which ones are working. So you can end the URL with !, site link equals menu. And then in Google Analytics, you can see exactly how many people are clicking on those and then where are they going and what are they doing. So you may be wondering, well, what should I pick as site links? And the best thing to do is to review the most popular pages that people visit when coming from your landing page. And then you want a deep link to those pages. So let's just assume that we're driving people at the home page. Because it's a generic, it's a general, like, for example, locksmith. If our keyword was locksmith and just locksmith, then we'd probably want to drive them at the home page because their intent is not clear. Their search intent is not clear. So we're going to drive them to a page and show them all the different services that we offer. Automotive locksmith, residential locksmith, commercial locksmith. Because we don't know which one, they haven't expressed their intent. We don't know which one they're looking for. But what we may see is that, well, for one, people are, you'd want to have the site links just like the example that we saw for a general term like locksmith. You'd want to have automotive, commercial, residential. Those are 3. But then you could also have contact us. Another good example is for a restaurant. For a restaurant, you'd want to have menu. You'd want to have, maybe hours, maybe specials, happy hour. So you want to pick things that people would want to go to when they land on that page, because by putting it out there in front of them before, you know what I mean? You've brought it one level before they've even gotten to your page. You're showing them how they can dive deeper or even go to exactly what they're looking for. So maybe I'm looking for a restaurant and I want to get their phone number, and I see contact us. Boom, I click that. So that's what you want to do with site links. And they're very powerful, and they can help increase your click-through rate, and which, in effect, would help increase your quality score. So the next thing is call extensions. And I'm sure you've seen this before too. It's when your ad has a little phone number next to it. And this was displayed on my desktop. I wasn't on a mobile browser for this. So if I pick up the phone and call this number, either two things are going to happen. One is that this number is going to be what's called a Google forwarding number, and you'll be able to see those stats within Google, or this is just the person's main number. Now, what I've found is that with the call extensions, that it tends to work best having the Google forwarding number. And this is an ad extension. This is not, notice how this is not in the headline, because the headline is free GE home security. Now this person in the number 2 position, get cash back, 888-256-3047, it looks like they just threw it in their description line 2. And if these are showing up on a mobile device, then those will be click to call. And on a mobile device, you can even tell Google to only allow the call and not allow the click. So if you've ever searched on your mobile device and saw an ad and there was no option to click the ad, but there was an option to click the phone number, well, that's a specific setting. So including call extensions can increase your click-through rate by 6 to 8%. They can be shown to users on mobile devices and desktops. And they can also cost extra when using a Google forwarding number. Now, Google also introduced something called max CPP, and that's max cost per call. And you can also, just like you set a bid for a click, you can set a bid for a call. And the Google forwarding number is not available to you right off the bat. So when we jump in here in a second and create a call extension, Google's not going to give us the option for a forwarding number. They, I guess, don't trust us yet. They want to see some action in our account. So right when you create your first account, and Google will not give you a forwarding number. You can create the call extension, you can get it set up, and then you go back and you check your stats or you check your settings, and then it will become available. So when you're using call extensions and a Google forwarding number, these are the types of stats that Google will give you. So you can see here on August 27th at 11:30 a.m. that we missed a call. And here's the caller's area code. And it was actually a mobile click to call. And we can see another call that was missed from an 865. And that was a mobile click to call. And the duration you see here, that's how long they're on the phone for. So 0 seconds. But then now look at these other calls. We can see received, 66 seconds. 542 seconds. I mean, that's a good call. 622 seconds. That's a good call. And you can see manually dialed. So that means that these were people that were on a desktop that saw our call extension and called the number. So call extension best practices. Use a Google forwarding number when one's available. Remember, Google likes making more money. Remember, that's the golden rule here. Google likes making more money. Increase your amount of clicks, they make more money. Use Google forwarding number, they make more money. So when Google likes making more money, they like rewarding you for helping them to make more money. You also want to test the setting that disables the click to the website on mobile devices and only allows a call. So for a locksmith, for example, I might not really need to go to a website. I just want to talk to somebody and give them my address and get them out here. So that's something you need to test. And then you also want to look at increasing your max cost per call, CPP, bid when available. And you do that on the ad group level. So in other words, you could say, I'm willing to pay $10 for a click, but I'm willing to pay $30 for a phone call. Because check this out. I mean, look at the cost on this right here. $31, $39. That's for a phone call, which seems really expensive, but how many clicks does it take to get a phone call? I know from my metrics that if, let's say, I'm paying $10 a click, that it takes 10 clicks to equal one phone call. So my phone calls are costing me $100 each. So do you think $40 a phone call is a good deal? You better believe it is. So even though I have a $10 max cost per click bid, I've got a $40 max cost per call bid. Because, if all my competitors, or, if none of my competitors have that setting set, they're all at $10 per click, and Google's not going to charge more than $10, then, and I got $40 on a call, well, whose call extension do you think they're going to show more often? They're going to show mine, because would they rather make $10 or $40? So we're getting a lot of questions on call extensions. So we'll do the live walkthrough, and I'll show you guys how to create the call extensions. And unfortunately, guys, whether or not call extensions on desktop is only in the U.S., call extensions may only be available in the U.S. I'm not 100% certain. We don't do any lead gen outside of the U.S. So we do other things, other campaigns outside of the U.S., but not ones that are looking to generate phone calls. So the Google forwarding number is a way for Google to count the number of calls. So Norman asks if we should use a Google forwarding number instead of an analytic call tracking number. But see, actually, you use both. Your Google forwarding number rings through to your analytic call tracking number. So not only is Google tracking it in AdWords, but then you're also tracking it and listening to the recordings in analytic call tracking. Because Google doesn't give you the recordings. They only give you the duration. James asks if it's beneficial to use 2 or 3 of the ad extensions in one ad. Absolutely. You want to use all 3. You want to use as many as possible. All right, Thomas, so I just answered that. If you use your own tracking number, then that's the number that you put in the Google forwarding number that you want Google to ring through to. And yes, you can have an extended headline if there is a call extension. So in that example we showed, the number was like next to the headline, but it doesn't always show up in that spot. Paul K asked, what is deep linking? So deep linking is linking somebody off to a page that they would maybe visit if they visited your normal landing page. So I go to a restaurant homepage and I click Contact Us. Or I go to a restaurant and I click Menu. I click Hours. I type in locksmith. And I deep link them to automotive, commercial, because they haven't expressed the intent yet. So I put out a couple options. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's almost like you're trying to guess. If you can guess, like if you can get in their mind and what are they thinking, then you can, that's what's going to make them click. If they're thinking, if they searched on such and such restaurant, but then you put a link out in front of them and it shows menu, but really that's what they were looking for, then you better believe that they're gonna click that. Exactly, Grant. Grant's got it. He says just like Google does. Exactly. You do a search on Olympics, and I mean, this is the whole thing, guys. That this is why it's imperative that you learn this stuff. This is how Google makes all their money. But what is Google doing? Okay? I mean, how many people are they cutting out? When I go and search movies and my zip code, I don't even have to go to a website because Google puts it right in front of me. Same thing, you search on a sports team score or something like that. Google puts the results right in front of you. You don't even have to click through to a website. Google puts it in front of you. They know that's what you're looking for, so they just give it to you. And that's like what you're trying to do here is that, and the way that you figure these things out is by looking at your stats. When somebody lands on the home page, and you could even in your stats drill it out to where you can say, when you can do a custom segment in Google Analytics that says when somebody lands on my homepage using this keyword, what pages do they then go to? And you can find those top pages and you can put those in as site links. Something else too to mention about all of these ad extensions that I know that we're on the ads and keywords week, but these are on the campaign level. So you set these on the campaign level. So our automotive campaign in Miami for desktops that we created, that's where we're going to set that. I'm going to show you guys that in a minute. But that's where you set it. It's on the campaign level. And so if you have your campaign set up as like categories, then you can do some neat stuff with what you're putting in there. So let's talk about location extensions. So these are location extensions. You can see that I did a search for North Palm Beach Dentist, and right there we've got two addresses showing up, and those are location extensions. And I'll tell you right off the bat that 784 US Highway 1, I know I'm going to click that ad because 200 Village Square Crossing, that's not near where I'm at. But 784 US Highway 1, well, I'm in 721 US Highway 1. So, which one do you think I'm going to click on? I'm going to click on the one that's closest to me at the top there. And those are location extensions. They can also increase your click-through rate by 6 to 8%. And they're great for offline businesses. And you can also hook them up to your Google Plus local account. So, and it's really beneficial if you're a business that has multiple locations. So if you have a Google Plus local account and you hook that up to your AdWords account, that Google will dynamically show the address that is closest, your address that you have in your account that's closest to where the person is searching. So in other words, you could have 100 locations throughout the U.S. and you only need to attach it to that one account, and then you just need to add it to all the different campaigns, and Google will automatically show the nearest address to that person. Norman asks, do click-throughs on AdWords ads go up when there are no local listings? So I assume that you're referring to the local listings like in the organic as opposed to the location extensions that we're talking about. But I'm sure that if there aren't any local listings and some of the ads have location extensions, then I would say that they probably do increase. But they increase all around. They increase 6 to 8%, but it's probably even greater than that if there aren't any local listings. Especially when it's something that you're looking for something local. So James asks, so if ad extensions are at the campaign level, then it means all of the ad groups under that campaign must show the extensions. Exactly. So all of the ad groups, I mean, it's not to say that Google's going to show every extension for every ad group. But yes, you're exactly right. Because it's on the campaign level, then Google will show that for all the ad groups. Krista asks, do the location extensions also show up with Express ads? And how can you tell the difference? Yes, they do show up. And I'm not sure if this is still true, but I know that the Express ads were showing the little exclamation point circle thing. I don't know if that's still the case, but I believe too that, let me just do a quick search. So actually, in effect, the ones that I showed you may actually be from Express ads. Let's see. Let me try a couple different searches real quick. West Palm Beach. Let's see. I know how to find it. Okay. So I'm pretty certain that actually the ads that I showed you are technically, I believe these are technically Express ads. So I apologize for that. And the reason is because they have this little symbol there. So let me show you an example of a location extension. It's very similar though. Just doing some searches here, find one for you. Okay, pretty certain Google gives us an example. The locations, though, the location extensions tend to have the little plus sign. Okay, here we go. Okay. So see how we have the little plus sign there? That's the location extension. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in and show you guys where to find all this stuff. Cliff asks, Express ads. Express ads are like Google's automated ads that you can run for your business. If you don't know what you're doing, you can put up your ad. They'll automatically choose keywords. You're going to pay a higher, there's going to be less. You can't optimize it. You can't tweak it. You can't add negative keywords, those types of things. So when you know what you're doing, it's not generally something that you want to do. All right, so let's dive in here. Okay, so addresses from Google Places. So you can see here if you added your own it still says Google Places account, that with an email and password, that would hook it up there. Or what you can just go ahead and do is manually add an address. So you would just put in the address here. You can even then choose a little icon. And then save. So that's the location extension. You then hit that little drop down right there. Call extensions. New extension. You select the campaign, phone number, and you'll notice that right now it says show my phone number only on mobile devices. So obviously this is a desktop only campaign, but as I mentioned, Google kind of restricts this when you first get set up with an account. The settings will open up, and you can see here that the use call forwarding number from Google to get enhanced reporting to show a phone number on mobile phones, desktops, and tablets. So what Google's actually done is, like I said, Google likes to make money. So now if you want to show on a desktop, you have to use a Google forwarding number. And then this is that setting that I talked about. Show links both to my website and to my phone number. And then show only the link to my phone number. So when you're on a mobile device and you only want them to click the call, then that's it right there. But if you want to show the links to the website and the call and the phone number, then that's that. So there's your call extension. And then here's site links. So now once again, this particular website, it's not very deep. There's only like 3 or 4 pages on the site. So let's see. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and do automotive. Now once again, our category is automotive. So as I mentioned, we have to drive these links at different pages. So if you're dealing with a website that only has a couple pages, then you're going to be limited with your options. But what would be preferred would be to have a Contact Us page, to have, if you had any pages about like certain types of automotive lock services, like the key replacement, you'd want to have that. Now, I took out the HTTP, but if you leave it in there and then hit save, Google takes it out. And then remember what I said about the tracking. Question mark, site link equals automotive. Site link equals commercial. Site link equals residential. Save. So there's my site links. All right, so I think that about covers most of it tonight. Let me just jump through and answer a couple questions here. Yes, Sherry. She asked, when you add question mark site link equals menu at the end of the URL, what does menu refer to? It refers to the link that the person clicked. So they click the link that says menu, so it says site link equals menu. Cliff asked, would you use a call extension for an ad displaying on tablets? I mean, that's a great question, and that's something that you have to test. But naturally, I think most tablets can't make calls. They may be able to do it through Skype, so that could be a reason to have it. But they can also pick up their cell phone. But it's something that you definitely want to test. But that's a great question. All right, Gil says, Ben, you rock. Lots of great info. Seriously. Thanks a lot, Gil. Yuri says, AdWords Express is a waste of money, and I agree. Thomas says, how long does Google limit your options when you first set up an account? I think it has mostly to do with the impressions and just how much money you're spending. So if you start an account and you're spending a lot of money very quickly, then they're going to open it up faster for you. But I'm not exactly sure on an exact time frame. To be honest, like I only see this when I do like what I'm doing right here, where I just pop open a new account. Generally speaking, it's available. Norman asks if a Facebook fan page can get a decent quality score. How about a webinar registration page or auto webinar registration page? Yeah, I mean, if they have links, Facebook page should be fine. But if it's a squeeze page and there's no links, then Google's going to penalize you for that. John asks, he had his AdWords account banned. Do I have a procedure or method to get a new one? I would just try getting a new one with a different credit card and potentially a different business name, different address. All right, Rex says, hell of a session. Thanks a lot, Rex. No, Sherry, you do not need to include www before the URL. I mean, it really depends upon your server, but generally speaking, you do not. It will either redirect or work on both versions. Carol asks, why is Express a waste of a waste? It's generally a waste because you can't optimize it. You can't choose different ads. All the different things that we're teaching you, you can't do with AdWords Express. Google does it all for you. Michael asks, how do you get an accurate hyper-local search volume? Great question. You get it by running some ads. That's the only way, unfortunately. Even the traffic estimator, all that stuff does not work. You have to create an ad, run some traffic to it, and see how many impressions you get. Ron says this is one of the best courses he's ever had. Thanks a lot, Ron. Carol says I'm the marathon man. Great webinar. Thanks a lot. All right, so I want to just show you guys real quick split testing. Show you how easy it is. Now, I've already split tested 2 different headlines. So let's need an auto locksmith. You can see what the ad looks like there. We've got a question mark and a period. So there's one. Let's go ahead and sort it to get that back on top. Emergency auto locksmith, need an auto locksmith. (247) 15-minute response time. So notice how it's not flipping up here to the top. Okay, that doesn't look very good. Or we could just say arrive in 15 or it's free. Locked out, arrive in 15. Maybe we put we. Say we arrive in 15 minutes. 247. 247. Remember, it's good to also include your keywords. So we've already have several ads. Automotive. There you go. So there's one where we have automotive. You could even try automobile. All right. All right, so let's go through another couple questions and let's wrap it up, guys. Exactly, Cliff. The display URL is not the actual URL. The display URL is just that. The destination URL is where they actually go to. Thanks a lot, James. He says, great material. His head is spinning. Hopefully that's spinning is a good thing. Jessica asks, how long do we split test to make a good judgment? You're going to split test as long as it takes to get those number of conversions. So we talked about if you have 10 conversions on one variation and 9 conversions on another variation, then you're going to need to keep split testing. But if you have 10 conversions in one conversion, then you know that you've got a winner. So the answer is, how long does it take? It's however long it takes to get the number of conversions. If there's a big difference, then you know sooner than later. And yes, Fred, so you can have a display URL that does not really exist. Sometimes things get indexed and you end up getting some 404 errors, but you can just redirect those pages. Fred says he usually has click-through rate or quality scores of 4 or 5. What's the best ways to get those up? Does the click-through ratio drive the quality score up? Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Click-through rate is about 80% of the quality score. So you have to have a high click-through rate. And if your quality scores are 4s or 5s, then you want to make sure that you're including your keywords. You want to make sure that you're including calls to action. Use all the different tips that we gave tonight, and you should, as well as targeted ad groups, so you only have a few keywords per ad group. And then even if you start off with a 4 or 5, that as long as you then get a high click-through rate and stay consistent with that, then you're going to get a higher quality score. High CTR is high click-through rate. That's what CTR stands for. Chris, the high percentage click-through rate all depends upon the niche. But I mean, I would say somewhere around 5%. You want to be above 2%, but it's different for every niche. I've seen keyword and ad combinations where the number one position can get 15 to 25% click-through rate, which is super high for paid ads. But you may only get 5%. That may be high. So it's like, what's high just depends. And let me see something else too. Let me see if I can see something here. Right. Okay, so how do you tell if you have a high click-through rate? So normally there's like a little sign right here that tells you there's some stats on this, but 4.76. I mean, this kind of gets into optimization, but so you go keyword details and then auction insights. So here's where I'm at. Here's you in that green. Average position of 1.4. Top of page rate, 65%. 43% impression share. Now that's probably limited due to budget, but basically only these two websites are positioned above me, 7.9 or 11%. But we've got a 65% top of page rate. You can also look at, I believe it's opportunities. Analyze competition. So here in the travel and tourism area, this is impressions. We're in the competitive range. So let's go click-through rate. So our range is 50 to 74%. And you can see right there that the top of the range is 3.4. The average is 2.5. We're at 2.5. So basically the highest competitor that Google's showing is a 3.4% click-through rate. So all these campaigns are ended, so I don't know if this is going to actually show anymore. Yeah, it's not. Okay, but that's one way to tell what are the possibilities. Krista, that's what we just looked at. We just looked at the niche percentage. See there? So on this one, we're at the top. So then you go opportunities, analyze competition, and then notice what it says here, travel and tourism. We also see details for 12 subcategories. Specialty travel, accommodations, tourist attractions and destinations. We then change that to click-through rate. So accommodations, we're at 2.6, but the top of the range is 3.2. So these are the niches. Accommodations has 8 subcategories. So technically, this hotel is like a bed and breakfast. And we're at an average of 2.7, but the top of the range is 3.6. Cliff asks, when providing a price proposal, in your experience, should you set a limitation on how many ad groups you'll run or manage and how many ads will be managed? I always try to figure that into the overall account setup, how many campaigns is it going to take, how many ad groups, and base my setup fee on that. But depending upon what sort of expectation you set for keyword expansion, yeah, I mean, if your client wants you, if they've got a huge e-commerce website and they've got 10,000 products, and you say, well, we're going to start with 1,000, and they want you to build out the ad groups and campaigns for 1,000 products a month, then you would definitely need to figure that into what you're charging. So Fred asks, he's got a successful campaign in one city. Is it possible to run the same ads in another city? Absolutely. What you want to do is clone the campaign and set a different location. So the only way that you need to, the only thing that would matter would be if you have that specific location in the ad. So if your ad said Miami, but then you're going over to Hollywood, then you would need to change that. Thomas, in terms of how many ad groups to estimate, it just all depends upon the keyword research. How many keywords do you have? Do you have 1,000 keywords or do you have 50 keywords? I recommend starting with, with less than 50 keywords so that you can split test your ads, get a high quality score, get a high click-through rate, figure out the winning combinations. Fred, I'm going to show you the clone feature in week 4 with AdWords Editor. No problem. Morty asks, how much do I charge a client for what I showed you guys today? I've always charged at least $500 to set up an account. Obviously, I only did 2 ad groups, so I would, flesh it out further. I would have a campaign for automotive, a campaign for residential, campaign for commercial, as well as the different areas that we're targeting, and then several ad groups for each campaign. But that would be at least $500, but can be thousands. John, yes, I definitely do use AdWords Editor, and we're going to go over it extensively in week 4. There you go, Cliff. We're there in 15 or free. Krista asks if I always separate the keyword types, one modified broad and one exact. I don't always separate those in different ad groups. Some people do ad groups, one ad group for exact, one ad group for phrase. What I'm going to show you next week with segments, you can see which types of keywords are performing best, and then you can either negative match those or move those into a different ad group. But I don't separate those in different ad groups, not generally speaking. Sometimes I do if the exact match keywords have a very high volume, but otherwise I try to keep things so that it's easily manageable. That's really the main thing. I want to get in, see what I need to see, do what I need to do, and then get out. Remember, we're going to talk about the 4-week or 4-hour work month. So that's what's important. If you have all these different ad groups everywhere, then it just becomes more difficult to manage. In the 4 weeks, John, we will not be getting into MSN Ad Center. So Casey, when you set the option to rotate evenly, it rotates the 2 ads evenly, or 3 ads or 4 ads evenly, and then you have your conversion tracking set up, which we covered in week 1, and you then pause your ads or delete them or do whatever accordingly. All right, Rex, thanks a lot. This is great night, Ben. Paul asks, what would the monthly management fee be after the setup? So it just depends upon, how much we're going to be doing for them, what their ad spend is going to be. Generally 15 to 20% of ad spend or some minimum amount per month. So 15 to 20 or $1,000 per month, let's say. So Krista, you're going to be adding negative keywords for non-relevant things. So we added in tools and jobs, that sort of stuff for negatives. But if we saw that we were getting a bunch of keywords with low click-through rates that weren't very targeted, then we would add those. But keyword expansion, I mean, Google gives you this nice opportunity section with ideas where you can say increase traffic, and they're right here. They're recommending for us to increase our budget, but we then go keywords, 22 new keywords, and you can either click and add them to, or you can remove them. So when you feel comfortable that the keywords that you have are producing and you're on top of their ads, but I mean, basically you don't want to expand into new keywords until you either pause the ones that you have running or you make them work. David asked a great question. Are there some rules about the display URL that it has to contain the actual destination domain? And yes, that is true. It does. It has to contain the actual destination domain. And the other rule is that you can only have one display URL, and I think destination URL too, per ad group. So you can only have one. Well, let me rephrase that. Going to a specific domain. So like I had 247locksmith.com. I couldn't have 123locksmith.com in my display URL in the same ad group. That's not allowed. Fred asks, does the quality score have much to do with the actual words on the page that it's linking to? Yes, it does. You want to have the keywords in the title, in the header of the page, once or twice throughout the body, and that should be fine. So, I mean, obviously, if the keywords don't appear at all, then that's going to hurt your quality score. All right, everyone. So that about wraps it for the evening. We actually went longer this time, 3.5 hours. So I'm about to lose my voice here. But I just want to thank you all for sticking with us so long. And I think next week will definitely be shorter. Probably maybe only 2 hours, depending on questions. But as I mentioned, we had a lot to cover tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And by all means, if there's any unanswered questions, just let me know. Hit me up on the support desk, and I will get those answered for you. And really, guys, jump in and start creating accounts. Start, using AdWords, because all the stuff that we go over, if you don't jump in and give it a shot, then you're going to forget about it. So try to get some clients, try to build some accounts, and even if you just do a budget of a couple $100s a month, then that's it will help you learn how to do this stuff. But it definitely works when you do it right. Don't forget the golden rule. Whatever makes Google the most money, whoever makes Google the most money wins. So with a high click-through rate, that's what you're doing. Next week is on optimization. So we'll go through optimizing an account once it's already been started. I'm going to show you the dimensions tab, which you kind of got a peek at tonight with the call extensions or with the call details. We're also going to look at segments. And I'm trying to lock Los in this week on Thursday for the LinkedIn Q&A webinar. So I've already locked in Jameson Brandon for Facebook on September 6th, which is a Thursday. And I'm trying to lock in Los this week. So those are some of the bonuses for those of you that maybe wondering what I'm talking about. And I hope you all have a great evening. I'm so glad that we started tonight at 7, or else it would be midnight. So I know that some of our friends over in the UK, it's already midnight, but I just want to thank everyone for being on tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you either Thursday or next week. And once again, the replay will be up in the members area, hopefully tomorrow. 3.5 hours takes a while to encode, and we'll also get the slides up. So thanks all, and have a great night. I will talk to you again soon.